In the dim, shadowed corridors of the Warhammer universe, legends are born from whispers and half-remembered myths, a realm where ancient beings clash with unfathomable powers and mysteries lurk behind every veil of darkness. Tonight, we embark on a journey into one of the most enigmatic questions that has puzzled scholars, warriors, and immortals alike. Asterisk, can vampires drink the blood of demons? This inquiry is not merely a fantastical notion, but a window into the collision of two titanic forces, each steeped in lore and danger. Before delving into the intricacies of this myth, it is crucial to understand the atmosphere that has long defined this universe, a place where the boundaries between life, death, and the realms beyond are perpetually blurred. The world we explore is one of eternal twilight, where the endless struggle for dominance between order and chaos sets the stage for events that defy mortal comprehension. In such a world, both vampires and demons have carved out their niches, evolving legends and abilities that challenge the natural laws of their existence. The idea of vampires, those cursed beings of the night who survive on the blood of the living, has always been a subject of both horror and fascination. Traditionally, these creatures are portrayed as predators bound by a relentless hunger, a hunger that defines their every action. Their existence is a balance between seduction and terror, drawing in allies and foes with equal measure. However, their allure is not merely in the consumption of mortal blood. It is in the possibility that they might seek sustenance from sources far more potent and perilous than any mortal offering. On the other side of this mystical ledger lie the demons, entities that embody the chaotic raw energies of the warp. Demons are not bound by the same constraints as mortal beings. They are the living manifestations of chaos itself, unpredictable and often overwhelmingly powerful. Their blood, if one might even dare to call it that, pulses with energies that can warp reality, making it a subject of both dread and irresistible allure. For centuries, the idea that such potent, otherworldly essence might serve as a source of nourishment for beings as ancient as vampires has been considered both a taboo and an irresistible mystery. In this vast, interwoven tapestry of cosmic horror and epic fantasy, our story does not aim to provide definitive answers, at least not immediately. Instead, it sets the stage for an exploration of the delicate interplay between these two forces. We will peel back layers of allegory and myth, tracing the echoes of forgotten rituals, clandestine pacts, and esoteric knowledge that hint at a world where the boundaries of power and possibility are not as clear-cut as they might seem. There is a subtle irony in the very notion of a vampire, a creature defined by its insatiable appetite for life, seeking to draw sustenance from a force that represents the antithesis of life, the chaotic essence of demonkind. Our journey is as much about the questions as it is about the answers. What does it mean for a creature steeped in the traditional lore of blood and night to consider the blood of an entity that exists as a raw, chaotic force? Could this act symbolize a fusion of opposites? A moment when the darkness of the night embraces the tumult of the warp? Or is it merely a metaphor for the blurred lines between predator and prey, power and vulnerability? These are the tantalizing questions that will guide our exploration. As we traverse this labyrinth of myth and magic, we must remember that the Warhammer universe thrives on ambiguity and layered narratives. Every legend holds multiple truths, and every truth is shaded by the interpretation of those who have witnessed the horrors of endless war and chaos. The mystery of whether vampires can, or perhaps should, drink the blood of demons is not a simple tale of appetite versus taboo. It is a reflection of the broader, often paradoxical dance between order and chaos, life and death, control and surrender. In the upcoming segments of our narrative, we will gradually reveal the key players, the historical precedents, and the pivotal moments that have contributed to this enduring enigma. For now, let us immerse ourselves in the mood and mystery of this dark corner of the universe, where every shadow might conceal a secret, and every drop of blood could be the catalyst for cosmic change. Welcome to a world where ancient hunger meets otherworldly chaos. A realm where the question, can vampires drink the blood of demons, is both an invitation to explore and a challenge to our very understanding of power and destiny. Within this extraordinary saga, several distinct factions emerge as vital participants in the debate over whether vampires may partake of demon blood. Each group carries its own legacy, its own motivations, and a role that shapes the unfolding mystery without divulging the intricacies of their eventual maneuvers. Their contributions are defined not by isolated actions, but by their enduring presence in the narrative of forbidden nourishment and supernatural boundaries. The nocturnal aristocracy, known for their eternal existence and unyielding thirst, stands at the forefront of the discussion. These ancient beings, who have long ruled over the hidden corridors of society, have developed a culture steeped in tradition and ritual. They are masters of bloodline and legacy, and their internal hierarchy is constructed on both ancient custom and ruthless ambition. With centuries of accumulated wisdom and experience, they serve as both custodians of forbidden lore and relentless pursuers of power. Their societal order is meticulously maintained through secret gatherings and arcane rites, ensuring that every member understands the profound consequences of altering age-old practices. For these sovereigns of the night, the idea of supplementing their already potent vitality with a substance as volatile as demon blood presents a challenge that transcends mere sustenance. It is a test of their very nature and the limits of their dominion. Opposing the natural order of these blood-bound figures are the chaotic beings who inhabit the realms beyond mortal comprehension. Emerging from the raw energies of a universe unshackled by order, these entities represent an uncontrollable force that defies categorization. Their existence is a testament to the power of unbridled energy and tumultuous creation. As living manifestations of chaos, they are not merely creatures but dynamic forces whose essence reshapes the fabric of reality. In the context of the debate, they embody the ultimate source of the energy that vampires seek, a substance that is as dangerous as it is alluring. Their presence is not marked by hierarchical command, but by a fluid, ever-shifting collective of power that challenges conventional wisdom, positioning them as both the object of desire and the personification of risk. In addition to these two primary factions, there exists a cadre of scholars and practitioners devoted to the study of the arcane and the occult. These individuals, often operating in the shadows of society's established institutions, have dedicated their lives to deciphering ancient texts, esoteric rituals, and forbidden formulas. Their role is that of the archivists and interpreters of long-lost knowledge. They gather fragments of historical evidence and obscure references, piecing together a narrative that connects vampiric hunger with the volatile energies emanating from the realm of chaos. While they do not claim direct influence over the events, their interpretations and recorded insights provide the intellectual backbone to the debate, inspiring both awe and caution among those who seek to manipulate the forces at play. Another group that subtly weaves into the fabric of this controversy is the assembly of religious and civil authorities. Representing institutions bound by tradition and a strict moral code, these officials are charged with preserving the sanctity of established order. They view any experimentation or deviation from accepted norms as a threat to societal stability. Their role is less about personal ambition and more about the preservation of a delicate equilibrium. By monitoring and sometimes outright condemning deviations from conventional practices, these figures contribute a layer of institutional oversight that prevents unchecked progression into dangerous territories. Their presence adds a dimension of legal and doctrinal scrutiny to the matter, reminding all that even the most radical ideas must contend with the weight of centuries-old dogma. Alongside the bureaucratic custodians of order, a circle of maverick practitioners exists, characterized by their willingness to transgress boundaries in pursuit of unorthodox knowledge. These independent investigators and renegade alchemists are driven by a fervent desire to explore the limits of what is possible. They experiment with rituals and compounds that skirt the edge of catastrophe, seeking to harness the properties of substances that defy conventional explanation. Their actions, though shrouded in secrecy, have a profound impact on the theoretical underpinnings of the debate. Not beholden to institutional restraint, they operate in a realm of intellectual and magical experimentation that challenges both tradition and orthodoxy. Finally, one cannot ignore the presence of primordial figures whose origins extend beyond the familiar confines of recorded history. These ancient entities, rarely seen but often spoken of in hushed tones, are the silent witnesses to the rise and fall of countless eras. Their influence is subtle yet pervasive, acting as a constant reminder of the immense forces that have shaped the cosmos. Though they rarely intervene directly, their legacy and the remnants of their power persist in every corner of this narrative. Their involvement is implicit, a background force that influences the balance between dark sustenance and unyielding chaos without ever overtly stepping into the fray. Together, these factions create a rich tapestry of influence, authority, and ambition. Their collective presence establishes the framework within which the debate unfolds, each contributing a unique perspective on the interplay between ancient bloodlines and the volatile energies of chaos. The nocturnal sovereigns bring tradition and relentless ambition, while the chaotic entities provide raw, transformative power. The custodians of occult knowledge offer a bridge to a forgotten past, and the institutions of order and the maverick practitioners represent the struggle between rigidity and innovation. Overarching all is the silent influence of primordial legacies that remind every faction of the greater forces at work, a reminder that the inquiry into vampiric sustenance is as much a battle of philosophies as it is a contest of power. In this intricate interplay of competing visions and age-old legacies, the roles of each participant remain distinct yet interconnected. They stand as pillars in a debate that challenges conventional boundaries, where every faction contributes to the grand mosaic of destiny without revealing the finer details of their eventual strategies. In the years leading up to the current conundrum, an undercurrent of disruption began to seep into the hidden corners of a universe long defined by its rigid structures and timeless traditions. Whispers of unusual phenomena had surfaced in remote regions, where ancient rituals and secret experiments set the stage for unforeseen interactions between realms. This period was marked by an insatiable curiosity and a willingness to challenge the boundaries that had kept disparate forces in isolation for millennia. Centuries of methodical tradition were suddenly punctuated by erratic fluctuations in mystical energy, a sign that a convergence of influences was underway. Unofficial records and cryptic manuscripts, once consigned to the dusty recesses of forgotten libraries, began to circulate among those with an appetite for the occult. These texts hinted at a possibility that had long been relegated to the realm of legend, a possibility that the essence of chaotic power might be harnessed in ways that defied the established order. Secret gatherings were convened in concealed sanctuaries, where scholars and arcane practitioners discussed the theoretical merging of disparate sources of strength. These meetings, conducted far from prying eyes, sowed the seeds of an idea that would soon take on a life of its own. The slow erosion of strict prohibitions had also contributed to this emergent scenario. Historical taboos, once considered inviolable, were questioned by a growing faction of individuals willing to risk societal condemnation in pursuit of radical discovery. In clandestine laboratories and hidden chambers beneath ancient fortresses, experimental rituals were performed that tested the limits of traditional doctrines. Incidents of unexpected outcomes, phenomena that defied conventional explanations, began to accumulate, lending credence to the controversial hypothesis that a new form of sustenance might lie in the uncharted interplay of energies. It was an era of experimentation where the convergence of the inexplicable and the arcane challenged everything that had been known for ages. A series of isolated occurrences further catalyzed the movement towards this controversial synthesis. Regions that had long been regarded as stable underwent dramatic shifts. Ley lines, the mystical conduits of ancient power, appeared to distort and realign in unpredictable ways. These anomalies, documented by itinerant mystics and wandering seers, were seen by some as omens, a subtle warning of forces beyond mortal reckoning stirring in the shadows. In turn, these signs emboldened a network of innovators and mavericks who argued that to harness the volatile energies was to unlock potential that could redefine the parameters of existence. Their voices, though often dismissed as the ramblings of desperate idealists, grew louder with each passing revelation. Simultaneously, an unexpected cultural exchange occurred in the corridors of secret societies. Long isolated factions, each guarding their own fragment of forbidden wisdom, began to interact in ways previously thought impossible. Through these interactions, knowledge that had been carefully compartmentalized for generations was shared, spurring a radical rethinking of old boundaries. The cross-pollination of ideas led to a subtle yet undeniable shift in the collective understanding of power and vulnerability. As diverse perspectives converged, a hypothesis emerged, suggesting that the potent, volatile energies typically confined to one realm might, under extraordinary circumstances, serve a purpose previously unimagined by either side of the divide. Economic and political instability in regions long ruled by unchallenged authority also contributed to the unfolding drama. Traditional powers found themselves increasingly questioned by forces that demanded innovation over preservation. As established institutions struggled to maintain control in the face of rapid, unexplained change, factions willing to experiment with the unorthodox found fertile ground. This environment of uncertainty, where long-held beliefs were upended by new evidence and unconventional wisdom, created a climate in which radical ideas could take root and flourish. In retrospect, the events that precipitated the current enigma were not the result of a single incident, but rather the culmination of numerous subtle shifts and isolated sparks that, together, ignited a transformative blaze. The merging of clandestine research, cultural exchange among secret custodians of knowledge, and the gradual breakdown of rigid prohibitions all contributed to an unprecedented moment in the annals of history. This period, rich in both promise and peril, set the stage for a debate that would force all involved to re-examine the nature of power, consumption, and the very fabric of what was considered possible. Thus, the road that led to the question of whether vampires might draw nourishment from the essence of chaotic power was paved with curiosity, defiance, and the slow but relentless evolution of thought. The careful balance that had long separated distinct domains of existence was disturbed, opening the door to a series of events whose full ramifications remain as mysterious as they are profound. The progression of events unfolds in several distinct phases, each marked by incremental developments that gradually reshaped the landscape of supernatural sustenance. In the earliest phase, subtle anomalies were noted by those conducting discrete experiments in long-forgotten laboratories and hidden chambers. These early investigations, undertaken in isolated locations, revealed traces of a potent essence within demon blood that interacted with vampiric biology in unforeseen ways. Initial observations indicated that under controlled conditions, certain elements of this volatile substance might be harnessed to amplify or alter the intrinsic properties of nocturnal beings. Although only a handful of experiments produced measurable responses, these findings quietly ignited a cautious optimism among a select group of researchers. Following these preliminary observations, the second phase witnessed a more coordinated effort to delve deeper into the interactions between the two distinct sources of power. During this period, experimental methodologies evolved to include a broader array of variables and more sophisticated techniques. Researchers began to document a series of controlled trials, where varying concentrations of demon blood were introduced into systems designed to simulate vampiric physiology. These trials produced mixed outcomes, with some experiments yielding enhanced vitality and unusual regenerative properties, while others resulted in unpredictable reactions or outright failures. The ambiguity of the data encouraged a new generation of investigators to refine their protocols, leading to incremental improvements in the safety and efficacy of the experimental setups. In laboratories hidden away from prying eyes, meticulous records were kept as scholars attempted to decipher the precise conditions under which the infusion of chaotic essence could be rendered beneficial. As these controlled experiments progressed, the third phase emerged, characterized by a marked expansion of both interest and participation. More independent groups, some operating on the fringes of established orders, began to replicate and build upon the earlier findings. This period saw an acceleration in the pace of research, with clandestine conferences and secret symposia serving as venues for exchanging insights. During these gatherings, experimental data was shared, and innovative techniques were proposed to stabilize the otherwise erratic nature of the substance. Despite the diversity of approaches, a common theme became evident: the possibility of redefining the limits of vampiric sustenance through deliberate interaction with demon blood. This period of rapid experimentation led to a noticeable increase in both the frequency and sophistication of the trials. Incidents of success, although sporadic, inspired further modifications in experimental design, while adverse reactions provided valuable lessons that slowly built a framework for safer application. In some instances, these efforts resulted in temporary enhancements that outlasted previous physiological norms, hinting at a future where such practices might become a controlled element of vampiric existence. The fourth phase unfolded as research activities began to leave the confines of secret experiments and started to influence broader practices among nocturnal practitioners. The accumulation of data, coupled with increasingly consistent results from well-documented trials, sparked internal debates among those steeped in centuries-old traditions. The conversation shifted from isolated research to a more systematic inquiry into the transformative potential of merging these distinct sources of energy. Experimental protocols were standardized to an extent, and specialized techniques were developed to measure not only the immediate effects, but also the longer-term impacts on vitality, resilience, and overall balance. This period saw the emergence of specialized subfields dedicated solely to understanding the delicate interplay between inherent vampiric powers and the external infusion of volatile essence. Despite the growing body of evidence, the integration of these practices into established norms remained contentious, with factions differing on the interpretation of the data and the ethical implications of pursuing such a controversial avenue. In the final phase of development, the experimental initiatives reached a level of maturity that compelled a reconsideration of long-held doctrines. Research findings, now supported by a wealth of quantitative data and repeated successful applications, began to permeate into wider circles of influence among nocturnal communities. These communities, long committed to the preservation of age-old practices, found themselves at a crossroads as the new evidence presented an opportunity to enhance their capabilities in ways previously deemed impossible. What began as isolated, secret experiments evolved into a coordinated movement, with discrete networks of practitioners implementing refined methodologies in a variety of settings. Some reported sustained periods of heightened strength and resilience, while others noted subtle changes in their natural rhythms and even the emergence of previously dormant abilities. These developments, while still the subject of intense scrutiny and debate, signified a shift from purely theoretical exploration to practical application. As the boundaries between established practices and radical innovation blurred, the transformation became not just a matter of experimental success, but a catalyst for rethinking the fundamental nature of sustenance and power among nocturnal beings. Throughout these successive phases, the journey from initial discovery to widespread experimental practice was marked by continuous adaptation and refinement. Each stage built upon the lessons of its predecessor, gradually forming a complex tapestry of scientific inquiry, mystical experimentation, and cautious optimism. The transition from discrete observations in secluded laboratories to the broader integration of new practices within established circles illustrates a process of evolution fueled by both the promise of untapped potential and the inherent risks of tampering with forces beyond conventional understanding. While the path remains fraught with uncertainties and lingering controversies, the series of developmental stages presents a clear narrative of progressive exploration, one that challenges long-held boundaries and opens the door to a new era in the understanding of vampiric nourishment. A singular, unprecedented decision emerged from the labyrinth of secret experiments and clandestine debates, a decision that altered the trajectory of centuries-old customs and redefined the limits of what was considered possible. In a secluded conclave held in a long-forgotten underground sanctuary, influential figures from across diverse circles gathered to confront the controversial question that had ignited fervent discussion. Should vampires incorporate demon blood into their regimen of sustenance? This moment of reckoning was precipitated by mounting evidence and the cumulative weight of countless experiments, each contributing to an evolving consensus that the previously insurmountable barrier between the realms of order and chaos might be bridged. The chamber, dimly lit by flickering torches and illuminated by the shimmering reflections of ancient insignia, became a crucible for raw, unfiltered debate. It was in this austere setting that the key decision was made, one that was less about an abrupt act of rebellion and more about a carefully weighed commitment to explore uncharted territory. Delegates representing an array of ideologies and practices arrived with carefully documented findings and impassioned appeals to both reason and instinct. Their presentations were marked by an almost palpable urgency. Every chart, every record, every personal account resonated with the unmistakable cadence of inevitability. The evidence demonstrated that when integrated in measured quantities, demon blood produced effects that transcended the traditional limitations of vampiric endurance and capability. At the heart of the debate was the undeniable realization that, for many, the allure of harnessing an unpredictable, powerful essence had grown too potent to ignore. Proponents argued that the risks, while formidable, were counterbalanced by the transformative possibilities offered by such a synthesis. The potential to amplify innate abilities, to access dormant reservoirs of energy, and to evolve beyond the customary confines of vampiric existence was laid out as both a practical and existential imperative. It was not a matter of simple indulgence, but rather an invitation to redefine identity and capability at a fundamental level. Even those who had long been skeptical could not deny the consistency of experimental data that hinted at a pathway to previously unimaginable enhancements. In contrast, voices of caution underscored the irreversible nature of the decision. Some delegates warned that embracing such volatile substances could lead to unforeseen ramifications, destabilizing the very essence of what it meant to be a creature of the night. They presented scenarios of uncontrollable side effects, where the infusion of chaotic energy might compromise centuries of refined control. These warnings were delivered with measured solemnity, appealing to the collective memory of past calamities and the wisdom of traditional practices. Nonetheless, the careful recalibration of experimental protocols and the successful replication of positive outcomes gradually shifted the balance of opinion. The advocates for change contended that the decision was not taken lightly. It was the result of rigorous testing, thoughtful deliberation, and an unwavering commitment to progress. As the debate reached its zenith, a consensus emerged that transcended individual ideologies. A critical vote was cast, a symbolic yet binding commitment to initiate controlled trials of demon blood integration under strict supervision. This vote was more than a mere procedural formality. It represented a bold pivot in the approach to vampiric sustenance, one that acknowledged both the allure of transcendent power and the necessity of maintaining safeguards against the caprices of chaos. The decision was enacted in a formal declaration that resonated through the ranks of the nocturnal community. In that defining moment, the factions present pledged to proceed with a measured, experimental approach, one that combined traditional caution with an openness to radical innovation. The key turning point was not characterized by the complete abandonment of long-standing rituals, but rather by the willingness to adapt them in light of compelling new evidence. It signified an acceptance that even ancient customs could evolve when confronted with the relentless march of discovery. The delegates agreed on a framework for phased implementation, a series of meticulously designed experiments that would allow for incremental adaptation. Each trial would be closely monitored, with detailed records maintained to ensure that any adverse effects could be swiftly contained. This decision represented a harmonization of progress and preservation, balancing the transformative potential of demon blood against the backdrop of deeply ingrained traditions. Ultimately, this pivotal decision served as a catalyst that reoriented the entire discourse. It provided a concrete foundation from which further exploration could be launched, offering a structured pathway to integrate two seemingly incompatible sources of power. The unanimous determination to move forward, despite inherent uncertainties, underscored a collective belief that evolution often demands a leap of faith, a willingness to embrace risk in the pursuit of a greater, more comprehensive understanding of existence. In that singular moment, the path was set, irrevocably altering the course of history and opening the door to an era where the interplay between vampiric nature and chaotic energy might redefine the boundaries of both. The announcement sent shockwaves throughout a universe already trembling with uncertainty. In the wake of the bold decision, reactions were swift and unyielding, generating a palpable shift in the delicate balance that had long governed supernatural forces. In urban centers cloaked in eternal night and remote enclaves hidden beneath ancient ruins, communities of nocturnal beings and arcane practitioners alike experienced an immediate change in the dynamics of their existence. Across the intricate tapestry of allegiances and rivalries, the new approach to integrating demon blood began to unsettle established hierarchies and spark an era of experimentation that challenged the status quo. At once, traditional power structures found themselves re-evaluating long-held doctrines in light of tangible evidence that the infusion of chaotic essence could enhance physical prowess and expand the boundaries of mystical capabilities. Former skeptics, who had once dismissed the notion as heretical, now faced an undeniable reality that forced them to reconsider their roles within an ever-evolving framework. This recalibration of beliefs led to an urgent reorganization of resources and priorities as influential groups sought to harness this newfound power while mitigating the inherent risks of tampering with volatile energies. In regions where the supernatural and the mundane converged, rumors spread rapidly of individuals experiencing unexpected bursts of energy and unprecedented resilience. Such reports were not isolated incidents, but rather early indicators of a transformative period unfolding before the eyes of an entire cosmos. Local communities, long reliant on established methods of sustenance and regeneration, were now witnessing a dramatic surge in vitality among those who embraced the experimental integration. This sudden elevation in capability quickly became a focal point for both admiration and fear, as the prospect of harnessing a potent, otherworldly resource promised to upend not only personal destinies, but also the broader cosmic order. The immediate impact was not confined to the individual level. Societal and political landscapes began to shift as factions recalibrated their strategies and alliances. In ancient strongholds and clandestine meeting halls, discussions centered on the potential ramifications of widespread adoption of this practice. Leaders who once held firm control over the nocturnal domains now faced a dilemma: whether to endorse the progressive adaptation that promised to yield extraordinary benefits, or to resist the change in order to safeguard centuries of tradition. The resulting debates were marked by urgency and intensity, with each faction weighing the possibilities of unprecedented strength against the potential for uncontrolled chaos. On a more systemic scale, institutions that had long regulated the flow of mystical energies found themselves at a crossroads. The infusion of demon blood into the life force of ancient beings disrupted the conventional metrics by which power was measured and controlled. Regulatory bodies accustomed to managing well-defined, predictable sources of supernatural influence were suddenly tasked with monitoring an unpredictable variable. Their efforts to establish new guidelines and safety protocols sparked an immediate flurry of activity as experts scrambled to delineate the boundaries between beneficial transformation and catastrophic disruption. The rapid emergence of specialized research units and monitoring groups was a clear sign that the implications of this decision were being felt at every level of governance. In academic and scholarly circles, the decision ignited a fervor of analysis and reinterpretation of long-standing lore. Scholars who had once treated the subject as purely theoretical found themselves compelled to reconcile ancient texts with modern experimental data. The convergence of traditional myth and empirical observation created an intellectual ferment that expanded the realm of what was possible. This period of scholarly inquiry was characterized by a surge in collaborative research initiatives and the establishment of cross-disciplinary forums aimed at understanding the broader implications of the synthesis. Researchers working in secret and in open academies alike produced a torrent of studies and commentaries that underscored the immediate, tangible effects of the transformation on the nature of supernatural vitality. Moreover, the social fabric of communities steeped in shadowy existence underwent rapid metamorphosis. Long-standing customs were questioned as the very nature of identity and power was recast in light of new physical and metaphysical realities. Ceremonies and rites that had once served as immutable markers of status and heritage were reimagined to incorporate the transformative process. This evolution of tradition was evident in the way that new rituals began to emerge, celebrating the union of ancient bloodlines with the chaotic infusion and symbolizing a rebirth of identity that resonated with those who dared to embrace the change. The immediate impact on communal life was marked by a blend of exhilaration and apprehension as individuals navigated the uncertain terrain of an altered existence. In some, the immediate consequences of this revolutionary decision rippled outwards, affecting every stratum of the universe's complex order. Power balances were redrawn, established doctrines were challenged, and the very metrics of vitality and influence were recalibrated. This transformative moment, while initially fraught with tension and uncertainty, set in motion a cascade of changes that reverberated through the fabric of a universe where ancient traditions and emergent innovations now stood side by side. The swift and profound shifts observed in personal capabilities, institutional structures, and cultural practices underscored that the decision to explore the integration of demon blood was not merely an isolated experiment, but a catalyst for a fundamental reordering of cosmic power and potential. The infusion of demon blood into vampiric physiology has ignited passionate debates and imaginative theories among enthusiasts. One of the most striking aspects under discussion is the potential alteration of inherent vampiric traits. Fans speculate that the chaotic properties of demon blood could bring about a radical shift in abilities, transforming traditional strengths into something far more unpredictable. The idea is that while vampires have long relied on their mastery over darkness and physical resilience, the chaotic energy might grant them access to new forms of power, such as enhanced regeneration, rapid adaptation to environmental changes, or even the temporary bending of natural laws. This prospect has spurred countless discussions on forums and at conventions, where enthusiasts examine the interplay of order and chaos in shaping a creature's destiny. Another fascinating element centers on the transformation of sensory perception and the experience of time. Some argue that integrating demon blood could recalibrate a vampire's sensory apparatus, allowing them to perceive not just the physical realm, but also the shifting currents of chaos that swirl beneath the surface of reality. This enhanced perception might enable them to detect hidden energies, foresee brief flashes of future events, or even communicate with entities that exist in the liminal spaces between worlds. Theoretical debates often revolve around whether such sensory shifts would come at a cost, perhaps a disconnection from the familiar aspects of their immortal existence, or whether it would unlock an entirely new mode of interaction with the universe. These speculations continue to fuel creative fan fiction and analytical treatises, highlighting the deep curiosity about how altered perception could redefine the boundaries of vampiric identity. The aesthetic and symbolic ramifications of the demon blood phenomenon also captivate the community. Enthusiasts often ponder whether the physical appearance of vampires might evolve in response to the infusion of such a volatile substance. Imagery shared on digital art platforms shows vampires with iridescent eyes that mirror the swirling chaos of their newfound energy, or skin that shimmers with a subtle luminescence as if charged by an otherworldly current. This artistic reinterpretation goes beyond mere cosmetic changes. It suggests a profound internal transformation that resonates with themes of metamorphosis and rebirth. The symbolism is potent, an eternal creature of night merging with the wild, untamed force of chaos, embodying the paradox of structure meeting entropy. Such visual narratives reinforce the belief that the fusion of these energies is not a simple matter of nourishment, but a radical redefinition of existence itself. Intellectual discourse in the community further examines the philosophical implications of vampires tapping into demon blood. Many enthusiasts argue that this development challenges the conventional dichotomies that have long defined the supernatural: order versus chaos, control versus liberation, and life versus unbridled energy. The discussion often centers on whether embracing such volatile nourishment might represent a conscious choice to break free from the constraints of an inherited destiny. In this view, the act of consuming demon blood is not merely a physiological adjustment, but an existential rebellion, a deliberate departure from the static roles imposed by centuries of tradition. Proponents of this perspective believe that such a transformation could lead to a new philosophical paradigm, one in which vampires evolve into beings who embody both the calm precision of ancient ritual and the wild unpredictability of primordial forces. Finally, there is a significant focus on the scientific and mystical methodologies that might be employed to study and harness the effects of demon blood. Fans are enthralled by the prospect of a hybrid discipline that combines rigorous empirical research with age-old arcane practices. Discussions often highlight the need for innovative experimental designs that can accurately measure the unpredictable reactions induced by demon infusion. Theoretical models are proposed to account for the balance between enhancement and potential instability, with some enthusiasts drawing parallels to modern studies of chaotic systems in physics and biology. This cross-disciplinary fascination underscores a broader trend within the community, a desire to bridge the gap between myth and measurable phenomena. It is this synthesis of scientific inquiry and mystical tradition that many believe will ultimately unlock the true potential of the fusion, offering insights into not just the nature of vampiric existence, but also the broader mechanics of the supernatural universe. In all these ways, the question of whether vampires can drink the blood of demons continues to inspire a rich tapestry of ideas, images, and debates. The unique aspects of this phenomenon, its potential to alter abilities, transform perception, redefine aesthetic symbols, challenge philosophical norms, and push the boundaries of traditional study, resonate deeply with a community that thrives on exploring the unknown. Every theory, every artistic interpretation, and every scientific hypothesis contributes to an evolving narrative that is as much about reimagining what it means to be an immortal creature as it is about the transformative power of chaotic energy. The discourse remains dynamic and multifaceted, reflecting the unyielding curiosity of fans who find in this fusion a mirror for their own hopes, fears, and aspirations in an ever-changing universe. In the swirling debate over whether vampires can consume the volatile essence of demon blood, a handful of remarkable individuals have emerged as emblematic figures of the unfolding controversy. Their personal journeys and distinct qualities offer insight into the myriad approaches taken toward this radical concept, each person representing a unique synthesis of ambition, caution, and intellectual rigor. These figures, while not aligning perfectly with any single faction, have become the de facto voices of their respective philosophies, embodying both the potential and the peril of venturing into uncharted territory. One such figure is a trailblazing innovator who approaches the subject with an unyielding curiosity and a willingness to test boundaries that many would deem sacred. Known for his relentless experimentation, he has dedicated himself to developing precise methodologies for integrating demon blood into vampiric physiology. His primary strength lies in his intuitive grasp of the intricate interplay between raw chaotic energy and established vampiric traits. He possesses an almost uncanny ability to envision the latent potential hidden within the fusion of these two forces. Yet, this same daring often leaves him vulnerable to unforeseen consequences. His methods, though groundbreaking, sometimes lack the temperance required to mitigate the inherent risks, and his willingness to embrace uncertainty occasionally isolates him from more cautious peers who favor incremental progress. In stark contrast stands a steadfast traditionalist whose life has been defined by a commitment to preserving the ancient customs that have long governed nocturnal existence. With a deep reverence for the established order, she is both a guardian of time-honored rituals and a vocal critic of any deviation that might undermine the stability of their heritage. Her strength is found in her unyielding conviction and the depth of her accumulated wisdom, which has been forged through centuries of experience. However, her adherence to tradition also acts as a constraint. She is often reluctant to entertain radical innovations, and her cautious nature sometimes prevents her from recognizing opportunities for evolution that could enhance rather than endanger their way of life. This internal conflict between preservation and progress has made her a symbol of the tension that permeates the debate. A third prominent personality is an erudite scholar who has devoted his life to the study of ancient texts, mystical phenomena, and the hidden laws governing supernatural energies. With an analytical mind and a deep-seated passion for unraveling esoteric mysteries, he has played a critical role in documenting experimental outcomes and contextualizing them within a broader historical framework. His strength lies in his capacity to synthesize vast amounts of arcane knowledge with modern scientific inquiry, offering a perspective that is both methodical and visionary. Despite this intellectual prowess, his reliance on past paradigms occasionally hampers his ability to embrace new insights fully. His cautious approach, while ensuring thoroughness, sometimes delays decisive action, leaving him at odds with those who demand swift adaptation in the face of emerging evidence. Another influential figure is a dynamic reformer whose vision for the future is as bold as it is transformative. Driven by a deep-seated desire to break free from the limitations imposed by centuries-old dogma, this individual champions the integration of demon blood as a means of unlocking untapped potential within vampiric nature. His charisma and persuasive oratory have earned him a substantial following among younger and more progressive members of the community. His strength is his capacity to inspire and mobilize a broad spectrum of supporters, uniting disparate voices under a common goal of evolution and empowerment. Nonetheless, his idealism can sometimes lead him to underestimate the practical challenges and dangers inherent in such a profound transformation. The tension between his visionary aspirations and the hard realities of balancing ancient energies leaves him vulnerable to both internal doubts and external criticism. Rounding out this cadre of notable personalities is a reflective and somewhat reluctant participant who embodies the struggle between necessity and personal conviction. Initially a resolute skeptic of any departure from established norms, he was eventually drawn into the debate by circumstances that left him with few alternatives. His journey is marked by a constant internal tug-of-war between self-preservation and the desire to adapt in order to survive in an ever-changing environment. His greatest asset is his balanced perspective, which allows him to consider multiple viewpoints and mediate between conflicting factions. However, This very balance often results in a hesitancy to fully commit to any one course of action, leaving him caught in a perpetual state of uncertainty. His measured approach, while ensuring a careful evaluation of risks, sometimes renders him a passive bystander in moments that demand bold decisions. Collectively, these figures illustrate the multifaceted nature of the debate. Their qualities, ranging from unbridled innovation and unwavering conservatism to scholarly insight, reformist zeal, and cautious pragmatism, reflect the broader spectrum of responses to the possibility of integrating demon blood into vampiric sustenance. Each individual's strengths provide vital contributions to the discourse, while their weaknesses serve as cautionary reminders of the inherent dangers of meddling with forces that defy conventional understanding. Their personal ambitions and vulnerabilities have not only shaped their own paths, but have also influenced the direction of research, the formulation of new protocols, and the evolution of cultural narratives surrounding vampiric existence. In forums, clandestine gatherings, and the pages of revered tomes, their stories have sparked fervent debate, inspired creative reinterpretations, and challenged the community to rethink the boundaries of what is possible. They serve as living testaments to the idea that the pursuit of transformative power is fraught with both extraordinary potential and perilous uncertainty. Their legacy continues to inform ongoing discussions and experimental endeavors, ensuring that the question of whether vampires can drink demon blood remains a dynamic and ever-evolving dialogue. A dialogue shaped as much by individual ambition and human frailty as by the mysterious, untamed forces that lie at the heart of the supernatural realm. Despite extensive experimentation and heated debates, several key questions remain unresolved, fueling a lively discourse among enthusiasts and scholars alike. Central to these unresolved inquiries is the nature of compatibility between vampiric essence and the raw, unpredictable force inherent in demon blood. While experimental evidence has hinted at the possibility of synergy, doubts persist regarding the long-term consequences of such an integration. Does the infusion merely alter superficial abilities, or does it fundamentally rewrite the rules governing the existence of these beings? The answers remain shrouded in mystery, and the community continues to grapple with the implications of a possible transformation that might not be entirely reversible. One area of intense speculation involves the delicate balance between enhancement and destabilization. Numerous theoretical models propose that while demon blood could endow vampires with extraordinary regenerative capacities and heightened sensory awareness, it might also disrupt intrinsic regulatory mechanisms. Some theorists suggest that the chaotic energies could lead to unpredictable mutations, altering not only physical attributes but also cognitive functions. These models are built upon preliminary observations that hint at both beneficial and detrimental outcomes, yet a definitive mechanism explaining the divergence in results is still lacking. Critics argue that without a comprehensive understanding of these processes, any application of demon blood remains a high-stakes gamble, one that could irrevocably alter the fundamental nature of vampiric life. Another unresolved question centers on the potential for psychological and metaphysical ramifications. Some theorists posit that the infusion of demon blood might create an internal dissonance, leading to a fracturing of identity. They speculate that the introduction of a force characterized by its inherent chaos could compel vampires to confront existential dilemmas, challenging the very essence of their selfhood. Does the merging of these energies awaken latent aspects of consciousness that have long lain dormant, or does it introduce an internal conflict that destabilizes the mind? The lack of empirical data in this area has left room for diverse interpretations, with some viewing it as an opportunity for a new evolutionary path and others warning of a descent into uncontrollable madness. The role of environmental factors in modulating the effects of demon blood is another subject of ongoing debate. Several theories suggest that the ambient mystical energies and the specific characteristics of the locale may significantly influence the outcome of any integration process. For example, It is argued that regions with concentrated arcane activity could either amplify the beneficial properties of demon blood or exacerbate its volatile tendencies. This line of inquiry raises further questions about the potential for geographical or situational variability. Could the same infusion yield drastically different results depending on the surrounding cosmic or terrestrial energies? The absence of systematic field studies in diverse locales means that this remains a tantalizing yet unproven aspect of the broader theory. Additionally, there is an unresolved question regarding the ethical implications and the governance of such a radical transformation. Although many proponents of demon blood infusion argue that its potential benefits justify the risks, a substantial contingent remains deeply concerned about the moral ramifications. What constitutes a responsible use of such potent forces, and who gets to decide the acceptable boundaries of experimentation? Critics highlight the possibility that the pursuit of enhanced capabilities might lead to an erosion of long-standing values and traditions, precipitating conflicts that extend far beyond individual choices. The debate over whether the transformation is an act of enlightened evolution or a reckless foray into dangerous territory continues to polarize the community, leaving ethical guidelines as elusive as the underlying science. The theoretical frameworks that attempt to explain the underlying biochemistry of demon blood integration also face significant challenges. While some models suggest that the process involves a delicate interplay between chaotic energy and established vampiric metabolic pathways, others propose a more radical scenario where the demon infusion acts as a catalyst for the emergence of entirely new physiological systems. These competing theories are supported by differing interpretations of experimental data, and the absence of a unifying hypothesis has stoked further debate. Researchers are divided on whether the observed phenomena represent a temporary state of altered function or a permanent transformative process. The lack of consensus in the scientific community continues to drive further inquiry, with each new piece of data opening as many questions as it answers. Finally, the possibility of a latent, yet-to-be-discovered counterbalance remains a provocative subject of discussion. Some theorists speculate that the chaotic nature of demon blood may be inherently self-regulating, a built-in safeguard that prevents runaway transformation by imposing natural limits on its integration. This notion, while largely theoretical, offers a glimmer of hope that the risks associated with demon blood might be mitigated by intrinsic stabilizing factors. However, empirical evidence for such a counterbalance is still forthcoming, leaving this idea as one of the many intriguing puzzles that the community is eager to solve. In summary, the discussion surrounding the ability of vampires to drink demon blood is replete with unresolved questions and competing theories. From the biochemical and physiological ramifications to the psychological, ethical, and environmental dimensions, every aspect of the debate continues to be a fertile ground for exploration and speculation. These unresolved issues not only highlight the complexity of merging two fundamentally different sources of power, but also ensure that the subject remains a vibrant and ongoing conversation among those who dare to challenge the established order. Looking ahead, the universe stands on the cusp of a transformation that could redefine the fabric of supernatural existence. The long-term consequences of vampires incorporating demon blood into their being promise to reshape not only individual destinies, but also the underlying order of cosmic interactions. As this unprecedented integration takes hold, a series of profound shifts may occur over the span of centuries, leaving an indelible mark on every layer of society, culture, and power. These changes, while still speculative, have sparked both hope and apprehension among those who study and experience the supernatural realm. In one scenario, the infusion could act as a catalyst for an evolutionary leap. Vampires, long confined to familiar patterns of existence, might gain access to capabilities that push them far beyond their traditional limits. This could manifest as heightened regenerative abilities, expanded sensory perception, and even the emergence of novel powers that allow them to manipulate the very essence of the supernatural. As these enhancements take root, the traditional dichotomy between order and chaos might begin to blur, leading to the creation of a new archetype that transcends the old boundaries. Over time, these evolved beings could become a stabilizing force, bridging gaps between disparate factions and encouraging a more dynamic balance across realms. The potential for positive change here lies in the opportunity to harness untapped potential, opening up avenues for cooperation and mutual enrichment between entities that were once seen as polar opposites. On the other hand, the long-term impact could also be fraught with peril. The volatile nature of demon blood may introduce a level of instability that undermines the delicate equilibrium maintained for millennia. As vampires increasingly rely on this unpredictable energy, unforeseen side effects could emerge, both at the individual level and within the broader supernatural ecosystem. There is a risk that the chaotic influence might gradually erode established safeguards, leading to an escalation of power that spirals out of control. In this darker future, the integration could become a double-edged sword, where initial gains in strength and capability eventually give way to internal corruption or a breakdown of the very structures that once provided order. This potential for destabilization has led some to fear that the universe could descend into a state of persistent unrest, marked by fracturing alliances, uncontrolled conflicts, and the disintegration of traditional power hierarchies. Another significant aspect of the long-term consequences concerns the evolution of cultural narratives and societal values. As the practice becomes more widespread, the traditional lore that has long defined the nocturnal existence will be reinterpreted and reshaped. New myths and legends may arise that celebrate the fusion of vampiric essence with chaotic energy, while others warn of the catastrophic costs of tampering with forces beyond mortal control. This cultural metamorphosis could lead to a renaissance of thought, where ancient practices are re-examined in the light of modern innovation. The arts, literature, and even political systems might reflect a deep ambivalence about the transformation, a blend of reverence for newfound power and a somber acknowledgement of its risks. In this evolving cultural landscape, the boundaries between myth and reality will continue to shift, challenging established narratives and creating a legacy that is as unpredictable as the energy at its core. Furthermore, the integration of demon blood could have far-reaching implications for interdimensional relations and cosmic diplomacy. As the lines separating distinct realms of existence begin to blur, new opportunities for dialogue and conflict resolution may emerge. Vampires who have embraced the chaotic infusion might serve as intermediaries between worlds, negotiating a balance between ancient orders and emerging powers. Such a role could lead to a period of unprecedented cooperation, where long-standing rivalries are softened by the mutual recognition of a shared transformative destiny. However, this potential for positive engagement is counterbalanced by the possibility that the very forces unleashed could exacerbate tensions between dimensions, drawing new lines of division that are harder to mend. The outcome in this arena will depend on the ability of all parties involved to adapt to a shifting paradigm and to negotiate the complexities of a universe that is no longer strictly partitioned. In a broader sense, the long-term significance of this transformation may lie in its power to redefine the nature of existence itself. By challenging conventional wisdom about what constitutes life, power, and identity, the integration of demon blood could lead to a profound rethinking of the metaphysical laws that govern the cosmos. Such a paradigm shift might inspire future generations to explore previously uncharted aspects of the supernatural, driving scientific and mystical inquiry into realms that were once considered untouchable. Whether these changes will ultimately prove to be a force for progress or a harbinger of chaos remains uncertain. The outcome will likely be determined by a complex interplay of individual choices, collective actions, and the inherent unpredictability of the forces at work. Ultimately, the long-term consequences of vampires drinking demon blood present a multifaceted future that defies simple categorization. The potential for evolution and enlightenment exists side by side with the risk of destabilization and decay. As the supernatural community navigates this uncharted territory, the legacy of their decisions will reverberate throughout the universe, influencing not only their own fates, but also the fundamental nature of power and existence across dimensions. Whether this transformative process leads to a harmonious synthesis of order and chaos, or plunges the cosmos into an era of relentless strife, will depend on the choices made in the coming eras and the ability to reconcile ambition with caution. The unfolding narrative promises to be one of both wonder and uncertainty, a testament to the enduring complexity of the supernatural world and the ever-evolving dance between ancient tradition and radical innovation.